Money life no easy. Make money stay easy. Thank God we breathing. Many souls in the prison, but you don't know. Money life no easy. Make money stay easy. Thank God we breathing. Many souls in the.
I'm gonna get the stage to you first, and then we're gonna twinkle on, down. Whatever the case may be.
So, what AI, I guess in music and everything, it's taking over everything, and it's downright scary to have AI being able to program things, to create beats, to do production. But there's a silver lining in it. You know what I mean? Like, I think the silver lining is that it really helps people do a lot of heavy lifting to get rid of the mundane parts of life, so people can focus on the higher level things like creativity, analysis, innovation, and things like that. So it's not replacing jobs, you know what I mean, in the grand scheme, but it's really gonna vet out the go-getters, you know what I mean, and the people that actually want to do the work. So the people that don't want to do the work, that don't really want to be artists and producers or programmers, isn't gonna vet them out. We can do your job. It'll do your job for you.
Right.
But to really make a good song, to really make a good program, it requires a certain.
So how you guys feel about that? Is it a threat to guys like you guys? And like, it's very organic.
I believe it is. I believe it is a threat in certain ways, and the reason why it's a threat is because there's something to be said about putting in the work. There's something to be said about understanding the intricacies that go into it. When I first started producing and creating music, like I started producing right before the digital analog bubble happened. So I was going to a studio. Shout out to my guy Curtis. He was the guitarist for George Clinton and the Funkadelics.
Shout out to Curtis.
Yeah, they had a studio on Green Mountain, Preston. Beautiful studio, and I sat under his tutelage and I learned how to engineer, and I learned the hard way. I mean, it got to a point because I was in college, and I got to a point where I told him, I said, man, I can't really afford these studio sessions anymore, but I was hard. I said, but I'll do anything. And man, I would clean the bathrooms, I would mop the floors, I was working at a country club. Forgive me, guys, for revealing this now, but I used to steal bottles of liquor. I used to steal bottles of liquor from behind the bar. I'm like, man, they don't really need it. I would go to the studio and be like, hey, Curtis, I got you a bottle of Macallan 18.
Real quick. Lesson to you leechers and people that don't see hard work behind the scenes, all right? This is pulling your own bootstraps. You feel what I'm saying?
Seriously.
This is real hard work. This is real. Besides the stealing, but it's still hard work.
Right.
You know but
yeah, I wouldn't encourage anybody to steal.
This is a black Republican segment.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This Jive, my man, he had to get his hands dirty, and people only see the success. They never see the work, the toil and the work behind the scenes.
The studio I was in, there was a big control room, and then there was a back line that went around to the booth. So the booth was about a 30-foot walk. So what happened, it got to the point to where, since I couldn't afford my sessions, I had to engineer my own sessions. So I used to have to press record, run out the studio, run all the way around to the booth, get behind the mic, throw the headphones on, start rapping just with it not be right. And man, I did this tirelessly for months and years almost, to the point to where I was good enough to take on my own clients. Now, where AI comes in is that they had this beautiful studio, but they were still paying for equipment. This is stuff that they had got on credit and whatnot. But now, Pro Tools was booming, and you had these inboxes and these digital to analog converters that now you could get in your house. So what happened was the client rate started to go down because people felt like they could do it on their own. So what happened was the studio eventually wound up closing for that reason. But by that time, I had established my own home studio, and that grew into what is now GGM Baltimore. But I had to. That's the way that I learned. And coming up under that, I'm the guy that's in the studio. I know what every button does. I knew what every knob does, and I could stand on it. I was technically sound. So when the bubble changed and everything went from analog to digital, I made a pretty smooth transition because I was learning both. But nowadays, you have producers and creators who are only in the digital space. So when it comes to actually knowing the ins and outs of it, they'll fail. If I was to bring you into a big name studio and say, hey man, hook that mic up and then go cut the preamp on, make sure the phantom power is
So
on.
they don't have no respect.
They would
for
look at
that.
me like, huh? They wouldn't know what's going
So
on.
they don't have a sense of respect for that level
It's
of
like another
understanding
era.
music and stuff. Right?
Well, they're not even aware that
You know,
part
like,
of the
say
game
car,
exists.
Like say, you know, you go under the hood, and you know, like back in the day, way back when they had all, and you can go under, you could do it yourself. Now you got to go to the dealership.
Yeah.
It's like that type of a deal now because everything's computer hooked up. So they don't have to actually put the wires in like before. Like now, you know, you got to hook the wires in and all this stuff and connect this to the preamp and all this type of stuff, get the compressors to do this and that. They don't have to do that. Flick this, click that. Boom, boom.
And what a lot of cats don't realize is that even with digital stuff that we're working with, the digital stuff is emulating an analog sound.
Right.
They're trying to get the sound that those old SM58s and the Neve boards and things like that, the sound that they produce is one of a kind.
Yeah. What? So I'm gonna ask you something. So is it possible? So once you're in there, so the way I kind of look at it sometimes is like, and you kind of hit on it, like by AI helps like lower the barriers of entry to get into production. So like there's more skill, there's more like if you have an idea but you don't know how to get started, you can really get started quickly.
Yep.
Is it possible to learn those things over time that makes a person technically sound?
Absolutely. I think that the beauty of it is that that's where AI and the digital space has really helped. Beyond the people who taught me, I used YouTube and other resources like that to really push my knowledge base to a whole nother level. But beyond just consuming that knowledge, I took action. I invested in microphones. I invested in outboard gear. I invested in these things and learned how to do it. And I got to actually see the difference in the sound that I was creating. And the difference was massive. You know, the stuff that this analog gear gives you, it can't be replicated in the box because it's all it's attempting to do. And that's honestly all AI is attempting to do. It's attempting to replicate what a human would do in a perfect situation.
So how y'all feel about the new AI with Drake, the one with Biggie, they even got one with Mike Tyson rapping over Drake song with well, how y'all feel about that? Like dead artists being resurrected from the grave and making a new sound. They on new tracks. Like you may have an AI Tupac on Little Durk album.
Right.
And I heard some of that stuff, not actually Tupac on Dirt, but I heard, what's that, the song that Jay-Z and Kanye West came out with, something in Paris, Niggas in Paris.
Oh, yeah.
I did hear that.
And they had Tupac and Biggie do the AI version of it. Oh my goodness. It's like they never died. And it sound better. Seriously, it sound better. And here's a question real quick. Who gets the money from that?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I have absolutely no idea.
Who
Because
gets the money from that? That's like hijacking of the
Whoever's putting them
force.
up.
It is.
Putting those up. You know?
produce a track and was to use a voice to sample it, then I would have all the rights of my what I've created. You know what I mean? Because it is still I can't think of the word, but it is
Intellectual.
exactly. It's still intellectual property. So I think it will go to whoever created it, because I mean these artists are dead or these artists are not actually creating the content. You're kind of just riding their wave. To me, it's kind of cliche.
Drake was pissed off about it.
I would have been pissed off about it too.
Yeah,
You can make him say anything you want to, and to the uneducated listener, they'll believe that this is actually coming
and
from
we
the
was just
person.
talking about that, Cash. Like we don't, you know, the intelligent person, they will realize this is fake,
Right.
right? But what about the mindless person, or the unso intelligent person who actually think this is real?
Right.
And do they care that it's real or not?
You ever pay attention to the kids when they watching TV?
Well,
You ever
mine's
see
been
the
out the
look
house.
that you ever see the look that they have on their faces? Notice any kids when they
Yeah, they.
the whole time. especially if it was a good one. The whole time. That's the same way we all get. They got to get us to that point. Everything passes right on through. All the ridiculous will pass right on through. Just stuck on it, you know what
Just
I mean?
stuck on it. Yeah.
Right. And then it just filtered through, and then after a while, you start to believe it. Like, yeah, I did see the six-fingered guy, blah 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 blah, but that was all AI.
I don't think it's sustainable. I think right now it's it's entertainment. It's kind of like it's a cliche. It's like exciting because it's new, it's shiny, and it spins.
So you don't think it's gonna stay around?
No, because the reality of it is the artists that we enjoy, we enjoy them because we can get an authentic look into them, their creative process, where their mind is at, how they progressed and grown.
Plus their hiccups. Their hiccups are what we enjoy. When they and then it's kind of like their fans are coming to their defense.
See, I think
Their haters are coming, I can't stand, so it's all I want to do.
What's happening with John Morant?
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yes.
yes. the shit with that ball, but you fucking up with that.
Yeah.
Oh man, shooting the wrong rock.
What you got to say real quick?
I was gonna say the one thing I would say for the on the AI topic is like I think schools have to get better. Like I remember in Lakeland Charge, we always used to have this whole thing is like when you're reading a new source material, you're researching a paper or reading a research paper, you need to ask the author's intent. You need to know the purpose. You need to research the sources and so on and so forth. So schools have to get better at making people like drilling that type of critical thinking and reasoning and analysis skill into this world. Because if that isn't there with that type of, you know, who wrote this, who funded this, how what makes it real, so on and so forth. You're gonna have people being deceived all the time by AI.
Well, I just listened to a talk on the ChatGPT, and academic institutions, they're building, well, they not upbuilding, but they have access to things that now filter to find out whether or not it was in fact just cut and paste from ChatGPT.
Right.
So they have what's the proper term to use? They have checks and balances in place because of the proliferation of it already.
Right.
So it's like you just, for the average person, well, I just use this, but no, the academics are already on top of it to filter out who's taking control of it.
And I think also intentionality is something that we look for. You know, when an artist puts out a dope record or they put out a dope album, there's a certain intention that goes behind it. And that passion and that energy that they put into creating that piece of art, they want it to translate. And when people feel it and it connects, it's like, boom, now we got a masterpiece. Now we have something that's timeless. And I think that's the beauty about music, and that's the beauty about being a creator, is that we spend hours and hours working on something that's only 3 minutes long. Yep. I think we had that conversation in the studio a while back. I said, man, we just spent 6 hours in the studio for 3 minutes of content. You know what I mean? Think about all that energy. Think about all that effort, all that intentionality. And when we pull it off, that 3 minutes of entertainment is timeless. It's monetizable. It's an asset, and it's something that will outlive us all based off of the amount of energy and intentionality we put into it. When you take that away from it, now you have a piece of work that it's like McDonald's. You know what I mean? You can eat it, but is it really good for you? Is there any substance? Are we conveying a message? What are we trying to do? And when the intention is just to, I want to replicate this because it's cool and I can make money, I don't think it's a sustainable
You
thing.
make a good argument, man. You make a good argument.
So how does that translate? So what I guess what so you've heard like these artists that die and they create these post albums of past stuff and so on and so forth. How does that translate to what you're saying?
I think that kind of for an artist who's passed, like Young Dolph just dropped the album, and the album is dope. When I listen to it, this is music that's been in the vault. You know, this is music that people haven't heard, and when people hear it, they're still getting a piece of him. They're getting a piece of his mind. They're getting a piece of where he, because the human experience is meant to be shared. And we draw inspiration and all types of other emotional connections from one another. So the energy in the record is still there. If you hear an unreleased Tupac record that he did 20 years ago we never heard and it comes out, it gives you an insight into his mind. It gives you an insight into his thought. And if you're a fan, you're going to draw inspiration from that. You're going to take a lot of different things from it. if it's something that's auto-generated that doesn't come from the actual mind of the creator, then you're just trying to replicate what you think I like.
Right.
And I don't think that works in any good, healthy relationship, you know, even in business, even in personal relationships. Like my girl, I don't want her to just tell me what she think I want to hear.
Then you won't trust anything.
Exactly. And plus, why are you doing that? You're doing that because you want me to react to your...
Right.
Exactly. It's a form of manipulation. And I think that I love my computer. You know what I mean? I can do some amazing things with it, but I'm also realistic in the sense that my computer is not a sentient being. You know, my dog is a sentient being. If I kick it, it's gonna hurt. You know what I mean? So there's something to be said about sentience and having a higher level of existence. When we're talking AI, we're getting to the point now to where they're attempting to make this artificial intelligence sentient. And I think that that's where you get on the cusp of a very dangerous place.
Is it possible? Like the self-conscious being transferred to something real quick?
I don't know if
like
it's...
the Elon Musk, y'all mentioned something about that, right?
Oh,
How
yeah.
y'all feel about that, and how do y'all feel the fact that the first prototype that we saw happened to be a black woman?
I think that's a
What's
glorified...
the beef behind
I think it's a glorified kink. I think it's a glorified kink. You know what I mean? Like, there's sex toys and sex robots and things like that now. Like, so an AI wife, what is she going to do for you? What is she really going to do for you? You know what I mean? Like, if I sit down with my woman and we have a conversation about where we're headed in the future, what are we going to do? Are we going to have children? Where do we want to live? Where do we want to invest our money? How did you grow up?
But are we underestimating technology?
Absolutely.
Because
I mean,
because 1,000 years from now, when we're not around, they say the world's still around, and you can't tell the difference from a real woman from an AI.
I think you'll find out.
Real talk. Where the technology is so vast, where she can disagree with you. She actually feels love. The self-conscious somehow is in that robot, where you can't decipher what's real, what's not.
I think the difference.
You get what
I think
I'm
the
saying?
difference.
They can have
Would,
children, and I'm trying to tell you, bro.
I think the difference would be this: is that if I have a robot, I own it. You're my property. You know what I mean? So just because I'm
Unless you
using
rent it,
just unless I'm renting it. But if I'm using you to fill a certain void, I'm not looking for you to disagree with me. I'm looking for you to do as I please. We live
What
in
if you program something, not cut you off, King, but what if you program something so it can, that's what I'm saying, that it will disagree with you.
Make it as human as possible.
That's what I'm saying, that it will say,
But here's the problem.
look, you don't need the donut. You like 5 pounds overweight. Come out and jog. I mean, you can't tell the difference, bro.
Here's the
You get what I'm
problem.
saying?
It's gonna give a lot of everyone's going. Say you just get one of these, right? Imagine the access that it gives that company to your life. That gives them more access than they already have with the phones that has pretty much everything. You know what I mean?
and everything that you can program has a goal.
Right.
You know, when you give computers or artificial intelligence robots, you give it input for a certain outcome.
Yeah.
So who's the one that's programming the outcome of this artificial wife?
Right.
Is it you? Is it in the interest of you as a black man? Is it in the interest of you as a creator? Is it in the interest of you as a husband? Right. Or is it in the interest of the programmers who created this, who could be feeding a completely different agenda? I think you start to get into a very dangerous gray area where we start equating natural life, human life, and organic substance to the world that we can touch and manipulate.
Organic and real human life may have less value. Real quick, Gov and my nephew can end on this too. Back to Iiguessillsayit. I'm your host, Adam L, and this is my partner in crime.
Sick of the government. Sick of the
And
government.
we're rocking with Keystone Cables, right? Keystone Productions.
Shout out Keystone, man.
Keystone Productions. Yeah. All right. And this is the password. See, I just made that up. So, all right, Elon Musk.
Right.
He put something out on social media, I think he was actually kissing the damn robot.
He
right?
was. I saw that.
Right? Yeah.
Crazy.
Boy, he very disrespectful. But shout out to Elon.
He's like a big troll.
She's a black woman, or not black woman, but she's an android that resembles a black woman.
Right.
How do you feel about that, knowing the history dealing with certain people, right, that want to see us extinct from the planet? So
over the last 20 years, we found out that the first woman was black.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they found out. They said mitochondrial Eve or something like that is what they call it. Lucy. Right? Now, he says he's going to come with the first AI wife, black. I think that's the first thing. Another thing is this. Why are we always trying to replace the black woman all the time? You know what I mean? When you think about just like a lot of these movements in general, it seems like it's an attack against, we don't like the black man being the black man. We don't like the black woman being the black woman.
it's an attack against reproduction.
Right, especially us and our reproduction.
Yeah.
It's odd. I mean, not odd, but it's the thing that I always notice. There seems to be beams, always one little attack after the next.
Facts.
The trans woman can be more woman than the cis quote-unquote woman. Is the game that they're playing now. You know what I mean? So if you're playing that game, and then we play with augmented reality with AI, where they can change, put on the glasses, then we can show you other things. Listen to a deep fakes. So how do you know President so-and-so say anything? That could be coming from them. How do you know that we might be led by a group of people that's dead already? I mean, not yet, but I'm saying, but give AI time. Give AI time to get good.
That's heavy,
We
man.
gotta get led by a whole.
When they bring back like the Hitlers, the Genghis Khans, and real quick, I think before we get your your opinion on it, right? Does this make, the point I'm trying to make is, does this make the black woman less valuable than what she is? More stink, more concentration camps. Let's get heavy. More concentration camps, more killings, genocide.
Right.
Right?
Yep. Because it's must.
Like,
in their eyes, you're easy to replace.
Yeah, and
If you're easy to replace, we can just.
we want your entertainment, but we don't want you around.
Right.
So we're gonna make you guys extinct, and we're gonna keep the basketball player android. We're gonna keep the black woman android. Our fascination, how they look, right? But we're gonna kill the rumors off, right?
Right.
What you think?
But they never be able to replicate the true black experience because our music, our art comes from a certain struggle, and unless you understand that struggle, you'll never be able to replicate what we do. You can create AI robots and women and so on and so forth, but they ain't gonna do it. I feel like the other thing I would say on this AI topic, right, is that I think we really, as things advance, all of these things are a scary reality, and I think that it is possible for all this to happen, right? So we really have to get to a point where we're having serious conversations about the ethics of AI. Like, and engineers and developers and programmers aren't trained in ethics. They're not philosophers. They're trained. They're commodities for companies, and they're trained that they're told, they do as they're told, and produce as they're told. So government, school, families, everybody has to get together and start talking about AI and the limitations of AI and so on and so forth. And if we don't, we're doomed.
Right. And that goes back to your point about what you were saying, the schools need to teach these children critical.
Money life no easy. Make money stay easy. Thank God we breathing. Many souls in the prison, but you don't know. Money life no easy. Make money stay easy. Thank God